everyone to this panel.
Hello.
Glad that you managed to join us to manage your managers and find out more about how to manage your managers. It's great.
Hi, I'm Robert Nunez from the Co-Host Expert Company, based out of New York and Madrid.
Great. So, obviously, we're trying to find out more about how you guys have built teams and how you manage your managers, how you empower them, and so on, and to see how we can apply that to our own businesses. So, one question that I had for you, Emily, is how you deal with outsourcing and how much you do in-house. So is your team the complete package, or do you outsource some of it? Do you keep some of it in-house? How are
Thank you. Very good question. It's a big mix. We started off, like many of you, very small, back bedrooms and then building. So you start off outsourcing everything and then start, the way you excel at, bring in. The bits you're rubbish at, outsource. Don't be afraid to outsource the things you are bad at. Know yourself, know your strengths, and that's what will make you a better manager. It's very, very important. Also, something I was talking to my friend about is make sure that you learn from your mistakes. A mistake shouldn't happen 3 times. It should only happen once. You have a problem, you get through it, you deal with it, then you stop, you review, you work out what went wrong, and then you put something in place to make sure that never happens again. It's a very simple system, but it works. Learn from your mistakes.
One, two, two.
That's
I'll
great.
sit down now.
I believe outsource everything as much as you can, because in order for you to live a meaningful, purposeful, hands-off life, even though you're always going to be involved in some of the operations of this, you have to operate your business and build your business with the mentality that if I'm not available, if I'm on a flight going to Portugal, if I'm at my children's wedding, if I'm at a graduation, if I'm sleeping, because you lose a lot of sleep with this. If I'm sleeping and something is taking place, how will this happen without my involvement? And that means that you have to step out of your micromanagement mentality and start saying, okay, well, somebody else can do this correctly. It's not just me. If you think that you're the only one that can do this correctly, then you're not in business. You just own a job. So learn how to outsource as much as you can so then you can grow and scale if you decide to grow. And if you decide not to grow, at least you're still not going to get burnt out with all the issues and the mediocrities that comes with this industry.
So on my side, I'll say try to keep in-house as much as you can your team's member for very simple reason. If you want to be able to build culture in your company, you need to have your teams next to you. You need to be able to motivate them. You need to be able to train them. You need to be able to give them the passion that you have and the vision that you have of the company, so then they can go to your guests and they are able to share the passion with them.
May I add to that? He's actually absolutely correct. When I meant outsource everything means the things that are probably beyond your team's capabilities. And sometimes if your business grows, the people you outsource wind up becoming part of your team. So you're absolutely correct as well.
I'd like to add something as well. It's very, very important to know who you are, to what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Outsource your weaknesses, keep your strengths, and build the team around it.
Excellent answers. Thank you very much. So I'll move on to a question to Robert, and if you guys want, you can chip in as well. So I wanted to know about how you have arranged the tasks and the responsibilities with people. Do you agree things, in writing, or do you just have a chat when they come on board? And how do you ensure that those things are adhered to? And when issues come up, how do you deal with them, basically?
So so the question is, how do we have our agreement set up? We want everything in writing because when it's in writing, excuse me, when it's in writing, it prevents misunderstanding. I mean, you can. Does anybody here have a property manager that you don't have an agreement with, a written agreement? Good. Okay. So you should have your agreement in writing, so you know what you're paying for and what to expect as a service. And your property managers and the companies that you outsource or work with, they should also have agreements in writing, so they know what they're giving you and what you're expecting of them, and vice versa. So I make sure that we either have our agreements to give it to them. I make sure that whoever I'm working with provides us an agreement. And if there's something that we're not in agreement about, we could talk about it and work it out. But at the end of the day, when we both walk away from the table, I know what I'm expected. I know what's expected of our company, and then they also know, what to expect of us.
Sorry. I think what's also really important is to understand your expectations and what you want. A good deal is when both sides are happy. It's a cliche, but it's true. Your manager must be motivated. Don't try and get them to work for nothing because they won't prioritise you. Pay them well, you'll get the results.
Great. Okay. Um, Perhaps something that a lot of us are interested in is profits in our business, and a good way of getting profits is direct bookings. So I know that a few of you are interested in direct bookings, and actually we've got Steve standing in the back from the Book Direct Symposium. So if you guys are free in February, go to Athens. And yeah, how do you guys motivate your teams to get people to book direct in the future? How do you transmit the message? Each business should have a mantra, and I guess one of the mantras that crosses all our businesses has to be book direct. We collectively have to educate the audience to book direct.
It's obviously the holy grail at the moment, direct bookings. We all want them, right? There's nobody here that would turn down direct bookings. They're not easy to achieve. It comes from blood, sweat and tears. There are some easy ways. Currently, very unsubtle marketing here. We're promoting a very easy way to capture guest data through Wi-Fi marketing, which is very important. Contacting your guest, maintaining your database, working with your guests. Your guests are your best asset. It's really important you work with them, you capture their data, you find out what they want, and you make sure you work to that what they want. If they're all asking for a particular thing, you provide it. Don't say no. And by doing that, you get loyalty. There's a load of tricks out there. Nobody's invented the wheel. There's nothing perfect yet. We're all struggling for it. I believe I've got something great to offer, which really helps. It's really helped me. Bracing social media massively. LinkedIn, use social media, use your networks, and use your guests. And if you need any help and advice, please come and see me down there because we're really willing to help because it's the big holy grail and it works.
So on Sweet Inside, the strategy to drive direct bookings is definitely the satisfaction of our guests. So the first online acquisition that you are doing is through the online travel agency. So we are using Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, Agoda, all the online travel agencies where we have direct integration with them, two-way integration. And just make sure that they're super happy with their experience and then that they will share it on the social media, friends and family, so they will come back and they will bring to your business their friends and family. So the first time should come from the OTAs, and then they are so happy that they will come back directly to your website or to your app, and you should have some elements that will differentiate your offer on your website rather than the OTAs. But it's all about the customer experience.
I agree. The customer is the reason that we're here, to keep them and retain them. I think that over the past couple of years, with the explosion and the growth of the OTAs, many hosts and property managers have gotten comfortable and allow the booking platforms to just be the work of the OTAs. And and they think, well, as long as all the money's coming in, then you should be happy. But what happens is if the OTA pulls the plug on you, which they can, you find yourself out of business or with a major decrease. So direct booking is important. One tactic that we use, just to give you one idea, is that every guest, every reservation that we attain, we ask for the emails and the contact number of the people checking in because we want to know who's on site. So if I have a party of 6, I just picked up 6 emails. If I have a party of 4, I picked up 4 emails. Then you have to capture that data. That means don't just leave it on your OTA website or whatever, because if something ever happens, you lose all that information. We compile all that information and then we reach back out to them. So if I have 1,000 reservations in a year throughout a portfolio, for example, and we had one person making a reservation, we might still have 4,000 emails and names because all the parties were also added on. So direct booking is important, but learning how to capture the information and then utilizing it afterwards is just as important.
I will just add an example, as you share now examples. We have our own Sweetin app where you can make your self-digital check-in through the Sweetin app. So even if a guest booked through booking.com or Airbnb, if you want to activate his self-digital check-in, he will need to download the Sweetin app. So from the beginning, you do have an interaction and you do understand that there is a brand that is behind this apartment in London, Paris, or Brussels. Since he downloads the app, so you will need to work on retention and a loyalty program to keep him with you.
This is quite hard to build a loyalty program when you're starting off. And this is why we're promoting scraping the data from your guests in a social media platform, such as the one we've got. You can ask for it manually, which works really well, but it's labor intensive. You want to be capturing it, you want it to be captured for you. So there's many social media captures out there that work. It's cheap, it's cost effective. Funnily enough, we offer one, and it works. You want to be boosting your social media profiles. Don't underestimate social media, especially LinkedIn, because that's where you get a lot of contractors and the long stay private bookings, which is what we all want. We don't want direct bookings for 2 nights. We want them for 30 days, 40 days, 50 days. Everything that these gentlemen have said is true. It's not easy. You need to work for it and you need to invest in it. It doesn't come for free. The OTAs are all doing it. They're spending millions, but that's why you get to pay them 15%. You have to work for it, but it's there if you want it.
You have to do the work.
Great. And if any of you are wondering how you can get GDPR consent for all these nice automated marketing collections, come and see me at booth 54. Anyway, next to the next question on managers. Let's actually get some juicy management questions. So I guess how, in your experience, how have you built a team? All of you have got quite considerable sizes of teams now. How do you empower your managers, empower the rest of the team? And how often do you communicate with your managers? How do you communicate with your managers? Maybe Paul, would you like to start?
So first of all, I think that one of the most important thing in a company is to have the right org chart. I mean, you need to set expectation from your team member. You need to set the boundaries of who is doing what, and you need to ask to each of your manager to take ownership on what they are doing. And that's why the hiring process is extremely important. To go through the hiring process, not being in rush because you need a specific role to go and to hire in fast. You need to go through the process, to take all the references that are needed, then to be sure that he will be accountable for the role that you are giving him. So this is number one. Be sure that you have the right structure with the right team, that you are setting the right boundaries, and that your team are taking ownership. Number two, it's the vision of the company. You need to be extremely clear on the vision of the company. They need to understand the message. They need to understand why they are here and what is the mission and why are they here and why do they want to share, this extremely exciting journey that you are taking them with you. This is the number two. The number three that I believe is extremely important is to give them the right incentives of the success of the company. That's why today in Sweden we have 200 employees, and all of the 200 employees have stock options. It's from the CFO that is here sitting with us to the guest relation, housekeeper, maintenance, interior designer. Each team member has stock options. So if in few years time from now you have an exit, you are doing IPO, everyone will enjoy from the success of the company.
I would agree with that. You want to also, don't forget to say please and also thank you. Is there 2 words that aren't used enough? And also say sorry when you get it wrong. As a manager, everybody gets things wrong. Service accommodation is evolving. It's not a fixed business. We're moving forward. I've been around for 8 years, so have these chaps. Where we've come from to where we are now has come a long way. It's going to continue growing. You have to try things, you have to make mistakes. Okay, do you know what? We got this wrong, but we tried. What did we learn from that? But the big things, please, thank you, I'm sorry, and pay them well.
Last thing that I would like to add, sorry, is that your team members need to feel that they are growing in your company. For them to be able to grow, you need to give them feedbacks all the time, the good and the bad one. But when they feel that they have feedbacks, so they are able to improve in the way that they work, so they will feel that they are growing. And this is why they are with you.
If you have a team already in place, if you already have a team in place or you're building a team, one philosophy that we use in our business is when an issue happens, and issues always happen, when an issue takes place, we automatically go in and resolve it. Once it's resolved, then we come back and say, okay, how did it happen? Or why did it happen? Because it's easier for a person to claim responsibility and ownership when something is already fixed than as opposed to before it's fixed. And we found that once we addressed it as a team and we resolved the problem, whoever was accountable or responsible for the matter, then they will come back and say, okay, well, this is what happened, this is where I dropped the ball, whether it's them or it's myself that dropped the ball. It's very important that you relay the message, as Paul said, about vision, because people respect results. You can sit here and tell your team about all the things you're going to do and how you're going to change the world and how everything is going to be magnificent and you're going to become wealthy. But if you're not doing the work and you're not pushing towards that direction and making strides and making achievements, people will start falling off to the side. So the team is going to stick with the leader, but you have to actually deliver the results. And as she also said, is you have to be kind. You know, when they make these mistakes, don't think, oh my God, I would have never done that. Because when you make a mistake, who thinks that of you? So, you know, a team is a team. You have to make them feel inclusive, not as an outside entity. And together you will build and grow together, whether you're outsourcing them or they're part of your in-house management.
No blame culture is vital.
Great. And maybe also a bit about looking forward to the future. How do you guys plan to grow your businesses, and how will you best utilize the skill set that your managers are bringing in order to achieve?
It's so important to embrace technology. We've changed so much. I've been around several years. It used to be incredibly easy. Airbnb, rubbish photos, you'd be fully booked. Now you have to work for it. Keep innovating. Talk to everybody here. Keep learning. Don't think because you've been on a training course, you know it. Every day is a school day. It's an awful phrase, but it's true. You've got to keep learning, keep innovating, adapt to technology. I see it getting more and more automated, more and more technical. You know, we've got some great products here. Our learning friend here as well. All of us have got great products that are bringing in innovation, and that's what we want for an easy, good, profitable life.
In reference to how do you innovate and grow, you have to be adaptable and you have to be nimble. You see, when I started in the real estate industry, we started flipping properties, and then we went into student dorm and rentals, medical students. Then we went into rehabbing and construction and new builds, as they call it. And then we went into the short-term rental market. Not to say that we're being unstable, but you also have to understand what markets that you're in and that things change. Things were very different in 2012 in the home sharing industry as they are now. And as the last 2 years, we've begun in the direction of building apart hotels, which is apartment buildings for travelers, because it's easier to manage one entire unit with 40 people or 40 properties or rooms, as opposed to 40 different individual properties, because we have to adapt with the change. 5 years ago, the owners that we deal with now would have never considered converting their apartment building into a short-term rental building. But now they're calling and saying, hey, we want to do this, we're interested, what do we need to do? So I would be naive to ignore that because I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. You have to go with the changes and adapt to it and stay in your lane, stay in your expertise. Even if you modify it a little bit, stay with what you like to do and what you know how to do.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for all your time. I think there's...
Thank you all.
Any questions? Anybody have a question?
Yeah, I think we're out of time. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Come and see us.
One minute. One question. A question for Robert. If I'm not happy with my current manager, can I hire you?
Is he here? Absolutely. We're in booth 93, and we can have a conversation, and thank you very much for that.
10% commission. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.